Welcome to our tobacco presentation for today. We hope you learn a lot of exciting information about a habit that claims a disproportionate number of lives each year here in Alaska, in America, and around the globe.
I think everyone can think of a loved one or someone they know that has been lost because of tobacco-related illnesses. Today, we'll provide information that we hope will help you prolong your life and the lives of others.
Here's the deal. Imagine a city twice the size of Chicago going into an apocalyptic wipeout each year, and you begin to understand the mortality caused by tobacco.
Here in America, we lose almost 480,000 folks a year to tobacco-related illnesses. That's roughly 1,300 per day. Here in Alaska, we lose almost 700 people a year to tobacco-related illnesses. Take a look at the other causes of death. Tobacco kills more than all the other causes added up.
That's crazy.
How many people here would like to make their world a healthier place? Welcome to the art of tobacco prevention. This is a picture of a railroad switchyard. And can anybody tell me what that has to do with tobacco and tobacco education?
The amazing thing to me is that with very little effort put in at precisely the right place, you can switch the tracks and take the energy of a train weighing 27 million pounds and send it off in another direction. That's incredible! And like a train, tobacco is big in many dimensions. It has a long history, it's powerful, and some might argue that it's unstoppable. After all, many people can't stop using it.
In this section, we'll explore how tobacco works on your mind.
Watch this video clip and tell me what you see.
So here it is. The cars are like nicotine traveling through the nerves in your brain. Did anybody count how many seconds this clip runs for?
When nicotine reaches the brain, it fits perfectly into the receptors, which triggers the release of dopamine, a feel-good chemical. You feel so darn good that the receptors cry for more, and neighboring receptors make themselves want tobacco. This is why folks increase their smoking from a cigarette per day to a pack a day or 2 packs per day. Quit for a year and you cut the risk of heart and lung disease in half.
Here we go, the tried and true cigarettes. They've been around a long time.
Washington Duke hand-rolled cigarettes for distribution to soldiers on his 300-acre farm back in 1865.
Machinery came along to mass produce them in 1881, and the rest is history.
Cigarettes are like a loaded round of ammunition, just sitting there. But put a flame in them and they become a loaded gun. Wild things begin to happen. 600 ingredients stored in a handy little container. Why so many? And look at that, they create 7,000 more chemicals when they're lit up.
What's worse, 69 of them are carcinogens, meaning that they cause cancer. Some additives enhance addiction and attraction. Cigarette developers want to ensure that you have a positive experience from your first cigarette to your last. Here are just a few additives and what they do. Let's look at the top one, acetaldehyde. That's not something in the cigarette, but something that's produced when we light the cigarette and inhale it into our lungs. The cocoa and chocolate additives are actually bronchodilators, which means that they help the tobacco get into the lungs faster. Synergy. In the biological world, 1 plus 1 does not always add up to 2. In the world of tobacco,
It adds up to disaster.
So how does it all begin? In our research, our team ran across theories suggesting that the combination of two chemicals, acetaldehyde and harmon, provide an additional addiction factor in adolescence. And when you think of the developing adolescent brain, there is something else. What's going on in this picture?
it's a pellet gun hole in the window of a tribal office. And why would a kid shoot a hole in the window with a pellet gun? For the heck of it.
Oh my God, I shot my eye out!
Let's talk about this awesome part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. Maybe it helps to think of it as that portion of your brain right here that helps make rational decisions.
I showed them to Ops, and Nod was afraid of them.
This is the brain lobe that tells you whether or not you have enough time to pull out in front of an oncoming car when you're driving. It tells you to use judgment that something can hurt you. It gives you a reasoning ahead of the experience so that you know not to get killed. And this part of your brain, this reasoning lobe, doesn't develop completely until you're 25 years old. The auto insurance industry has been all over this for decades. How many here have their driver's license and are driving? Do you know how much you or your parents pay for your car insurance? Well, when you turn 25, those rates should go down. I know mine sure did. The reason is that the insurance agency does calculations. They look at the number of accidents and the ages of the people who have the accidents. They're in it to make a profit, so they're going to adjust their rates to cover for folks who are under 25.
So let's explore our first encounter with tobacco. And let's imagine that we don't have the benefit of a fully developed prefrontal cortex. This little graphic shows the 5 stages of addiction. Now let's take a look at various forms of tobacco use by Alaska youth.
As it turns out, even if you don't smoke at all, you might be subject to tobacco's dangers.
Just enjoying the water.
We've already made slight progress in educating the Alaska public about secondhand smoke. Ideally, those numbers should be below those bottom grid lines. So the question is, what can we do to make those rates drop off the charts? Smokeless tobacco is a prevalent form of nicotine intake here in Alaska, particularly in the western part of the state.
Okay, it's time for today's math lesson. How many cigarettes would the tobacco user have to smoke to get the same intake as the person choosing to use 2?
Here's a national breakdown of nicotine delivery among high school and middle school students in 2018. Looking at the graphics to the side, what can you tell me about the various methods of delivery?
Generations ago, someone figured out that ash from the fungus raised pH, which is known to punch up delivery of nicotine into the bloodstream.
Here's a little tobacco story for you. That's just the business side of it.
You may have heard folks refer to it as juuling. The number of Juul hashtag postings on Instagram last year hit 572,000. Can you believe that?
That surprised me.
So given this little vignette in the plot of the story, this next set of statistics might not surprise you. So while it looks like we've made inroads at reducing young cigarette smokers since 1998, the newest trend indicates a new problem to solve.
So how do we protect the youth from that stuff? Let's go back to our addiction model. If we look at the first two stages, it begs of the question, how are they getting their first cigarettes or dips or chew or whatever contains nicotine?
This is what's known as a Pareto chart, a useful tool in narrowing down problems by various components. The Pareto principle holds that 80% of the total problems in a system are tied to 20% of the problem causes. Using data from YRBS surveys in Alaska, it looks like about 9% of the early smokers actually buy them from the store. Look at the other methods of acquisition: bummed, had someone else buy, supplied by an adult. For the most part, it looks like there's no upfront cost to try it. Here's what it looks like if we stack all the no-cost methods of acquisition together. That adds up to 60% and invites the idea that if we can cut down on freebie cigarettes, we might be able to reduce initiation. Okay, time to tap into the brilliance of all you in this room. Take a few minutes and come up with a short list of solutions for the problem statement. There are many stories of initiation to tobacco. To the susceptible, they are enticing, romantic, justifiable in many cases. Consider the plight of some youth working in a fish camp. For years, they have anticipated acceptance as providers in the community. To be invited to take a break from the cutting tables or the smokehouse and join adults for a smoke means a rite of passage and recognition in the community as an adult. Here's a list of other theories by the American Lung Association. So what I'd like to hear now is how many different initiation stories we can come up with in this group. Give it a few minutes.
So Virginia's only 30 cents.
Does anybody know why that is?
That's because they're top tobacco production states in the U.S. North Carolina plants 170,000 acres of tobacco. Kentucky plants more than 87,000 and Virginia plants nearly 21,000 acres.
In recent years, tobacco revenue in the United States hit $1.1 billion.
That's incredible!
Callers receive free counseling sessions along with nicotine replacement therapy. They're open 24/7 and you don't need health insurance to use the service. Calls are about 5 to 7 minutes and they'll assign you a quit coach depending upon your intentions. You quit at your own pace, so there's no pressure. So what's your strategy? What's your best line to keep someone from trying tobacco for the first time? What's your defense when a friend beckons you to try tobacco? Going forward, it's up to us to develop that plan, that railroad switch lever, that when we perfect it, will send an immense social condition in another direction, towards cleaner air, healthier lives, and away from addiction.
I'm Luther Walker and I hope you like our presentation.